Hello and welcome to the Claret and Blue podcast. We're live at 4:08 on Friday, the 20th of February, to discuss Harvey Elliott. Now, I want to start very, very quickly by explaining the title, which I've thrown together in the last minute, to be honest, because this has been an impromptu setup. Aston Villa unlock Harvey Elliott. Well, kind of, is the title that we've gone for on this one, and we'll explain what we mean by that shortly. John, you're also filming this from your parents' house with AirPods, so we're not going to sound as delightfully crisp as you normally do. How are you, though? Everything okay?
Yeah, fine. There's always a rush on Fridays, and we're going out for curry tonight. So we thought we'd just, not ideal, but cobble this together.
Enjoy the show,
video yesterday. We did the fan zone yesterday, didn't we? So if you want leads, if you want preview vibes, then that was yesterday. Or if you want Claret and Brew, that was a few days before, and a Q&A as well. So you've had loads of content.
Yeah, we've done other bits and pieces. So if you want, like you said, lead-specific chat, we did a preview that went out last night. Stephen says in the comments, Elliott's injured, ? Yes, he is unavailable specifically for this weekend anyway, so we'll park that for now. Unlock is the word I've gone for. You want to clarify that this is not a renegotiation of the terms with Liverpool, but this is something that's been in there all along. But Emery's confirmed today in the presser that Harvey Elliott can actually play in Europe and it not trigger the 10 games. So it kind of is unlocking him in a way, right? Kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, so essentially, just from the top, the by obligation, the trigger, the games that Villa have to play Elliott in to then sign him permanently, Villa tell us that is only based on league appearances, and this appears to be such a complex and difficult loan deal with lots of different moving parts to it that I'm not going to begin to explain every nook and cranny of it. And frankly, I think when it was done, I'm surprised Elliott thought he'd be here permanently, because there seems to be so many sort of elements. And maybe this is, it's obviously usual in different circumstances, but yeah, it's pretty extraordinary. All the sort of details and the situation itself, because of the fact he hasn't been playing. But yeah, from the top, he can play in Europe and probably would have been able to play in the cup competition as well, had Villa progressed past Newcastle. But as the commenter says there, yeah, he's injured at the moment, and we're told that should be around 2 weeks or so. He should be able to play, hopefully he'll return for the first leg of the round of 16, the away match that we'll play in, 3 weeks' time, I think. So, initially it was the good news is Elliott can play in Europe. The bad news is he's injured, but we're hoping that it'll be okay anyway for the European games. It's an injury around the groin area, we believe. So, yeah, that is the news. It's not something that Emery actually brought up necessarily in terms of, and by the way, there is this in case you didn't know. It was an interesting one because obviously we ask about Elliott as much as we can, because it's such a, the situation is such a, as I said earlier, like an extraordinary one really, and such an interesting one too, that when we do ask about him, I think Emery probably got a bit frustrated at one point and just explained everything in the last press conference that he spoke about Elliott in, which was a couple of weeks ago, when he explained that we've been looking for months to take this buy clause out, and just essentially telling Liverpool, let him play for us.
We did a pod there
in the league, obviously. Yeah, we did, yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Specifically for Harvey Elliott news.
Harvey Elliott, yeah. Emery said today, I think I've explained it quite clearly already, and then basically hinted that he will play more or less in Europe. And I thought, that's not, a few of us did anyway. That's an odd thing to say. So afterwards we got that firmed up essentially, and that is. He was
included in the squad, right? In the re-registration of the Europa League, and it's a bit like, well, if he can only play 2 more games, is that a bit of a waste of a registration? So this does explain that. Yeah. A couple of questions in the comments quickly. Abibi first. So why are we, / the club, only just finding this out now? It really does not reflect well on us that we don't know the ins and outs of a deal we signed. We must do better in the future. We didn't know. The club absolutely knew. This is, like you say, this is not a renegotiation. This is not something that's been changed, which opens questions for me from Sean. So why didn't he get much time in the group stage then? If he could play, why wasn't he?
I know, and this is the interesting. I know I'm in no place to answer these questions. Only Emery and the club can. We're only telling you that via the club he can play in hopefully the next, get this right, 7 games, I think it is, to the final. So hopefully he can play. If Emery wants him to play, he has 7 games to play in. Why he didn't play before, I don't know. And I would even go as far as to saying maybe there is something in this agreement where, things change, but we're agreed from the outset. For example, the line in the appearances that he has to make for Villa to trigger the obligation, isn't it something like 5 after the turn of the year or something? I can't quite remember, but don't kind of take that too literally. But the point being, it wasn't just hard and fast. He plays 10 football matches for Villa and then Villa buy him. Even in the league, it wasn't as clear cut as that. So it's a very, again, difficult thing to sort of put together, especially on a podcast. But yeah, that's why we're just giving you the information that he can play in the Europa League, because that was obviously a sticking point. Had it been all competitions, of course, you're looking at him not featuring very much at all. But if he could play in the Europa League, then okay, I'd much rather Harvey Elliott be on the bench or come on as a sub than not, And also, we have a very, very packed schedule. And if we do manage to do well in some of those first legs, possibly there's scope to, dare I say it, rest players and Harvey Elliott can play. But again, we'll see on that. The only other thing I would mention on it as well is that those knockout games are quite packed together, especially the semi and quarters, and it's all very jammed together. So I don't think it's a situation where Elliott would play, if he plays in the Europa League, but then miss 4 weeks of action and then play again. That they are pretty closely jammed together, as I say. So if Emery does see something from Elliott, let's say in a round of 16 game, okay, but it's not that far away until the quarter final. It's not as if they're missing 2 months and then 2 months again, like he has been. It's been so stop-start for him, mainly stop than start. But hell, in the last 3 months of the season, there is a chance that he could play 7 games, and that might be more than some other players. But I guess we have to caveat that again with, clearly he's not an Emery player, frankly. Yeah, he would have been playing more and Villa would have bought him.
Yeah, Emery doesn't rate him enough to spend 35 million on him, but having him as a body in the Europa League squad if we need him because of further injuries or whatever. I said to you on a voice note when you said, can we do a podcast? And I'm running back from having my haircut. This loan deal has been a disaster, right? But if he can play in 7 Europa League games, provided we get to the final, and he scores the winner in the semi-final or something, this loan deal has been terrible. But for that alone, it will almost be worthwhile, right? Because nobody expected him to be able to play that far in anyway. Mm-hmm. The other question that comes up here, and I don't think you'll have the answer to this. So he's played 5 games in the league.
4.
8 and 4. Okay, even better.
4 in the league, 1 in Carabao, and then 2 in Europa, yeah.
So 7. So the theory was he can play 2 more games to get to 9, because if he gets to 10, we trigger this buy option, obligation. So if those European games are taken out, then can he play an extra 3 or 4 in the league as well?
Well, in theory, right? If it's the most basic form, and we're talking 10 Premier League games and that's it. And by the way, I don't know if this is true because again, it's very detailed. The clause, right? But in theory, yeah, it would be 5 more because then I would give him 9 Premier League appearances. But again, I'm not totally sure if it's a case of, well, if he makes 5 appearances in the second half of the season, then that would be enough to trigger it. Do you know what I mean? It's so
yeah.
And that's kind of the message we got from Villa as well. Of it's not as simple as what it's kind of been made out to be. I think we've seen that in the last few months. So yeah, I don't have the answer to that, and obviously I've never professed to guessing, so I'm not going to. But again, just reiterate, the only information is we have that you can play in Europe. And frankly, I think that's all that matters. I wouldn't focus on the league. I don't think Harvey Elliott will get much playing time. Even if we could play him for another 10 games in the league, he might feature on the bench and come on now and again. But I don't think I've seen enough anyway of him warranting that much more game time. Yes, as an option, great. But whether that's even possible, I'm not totally sure. So I would essentially treat this news like we did before. If he's not in league squads and doesn't get too many minutes between now and April, shall we say, it is what it is. But the European squad, yeah, expect him to be playing there. And if he does, then that's good, frankly, because it's a player that you'd rather have than not, as I say.
Does this even make a difference for Europe? Like, he can play in them. That doesn't mean he will, right?
Emery doesn't think no, it doesn't. And this is kind of the point. We don't want to make this out as if it's like a groundbreaking update that Harvey Elliott is now going to play football for Villa. It's not that. It's just that we now know we can play him for 7 games if we want. If we lose to Celta Vigo in the round of 16, it don't matter. It doesn't matter. But yeah, that is the news essentially. Yeah, I put out a piece earlier this week, I think it was, and I don't check my notifications and messages or whatever very often unless it appears on my own timeline. I looked at it the other day, and the piece I put out was basically saying Liverpool are, I think, being hypocritical in terms of being angry at Villa for going against the spirit of the deal and all that sort of stuff. I think they can be frustrated by it because Villa, they thought they were going to be banking 35 million, and that's fine. But Villa are acting in their own self-interest by not playing Elliot. Liverpool, for me, are now acting in their own self-interest for not allowing Villa to play Elliot in the Premier League because Villa are now a rival to Liverpool. It's like 160 messages on there. So they're going, I ain't going to look at them because I'm not fussed. But it's more of the point of like, am I missing something here? Liverpool are not allowing Villa to play Elliot now from the end of the season because they're a rival. And I understand that. That's okay. But it was just more of a message of, you can't be that mad at Villa. They're only acting in their own self-interest, and I think Liverpool are doing exactly that as well. So it's been a real shame for Elliot to be caught in the middle of that, is the point I'm trying to get to.
Yeah.
But some sort of solace, I guess. There is potential that you can play in some of Villa's biggest games of the season. If we get to a semi-final, quarter-final, I mean, round of 16 is also massive for us, but hell, a final too. That's still some experience for him, even if he doesn't come on. He's still involved, which would be... something.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's pretty much all we have to say. Well, I've got to say about Harvey Elliott for this little mini episode. Is there anything else that we've not touched on, Elliott specific?
Off the top of my head, I don't think so. Again, this is more just to inform people about what the news is, because I know there's I'm sure there'd be lots of questions, as I think we're getting as well, about how many more games does he can play in the league and what does this mean for this? We don't know exactly. So again, I'm not going to be guessing about it, obviously. But it's just the information about the Europa League. That's the thing, right? And it's something, again, it's not a renegotiation. However, this is what was agreed at the time when the deal was struck. So, it's just not something that's come out between then and obviously now.
Every time we do an update on Harvey Elliott, I feel like I'll just end up with more questions than answers.
I can't imagine there'll be another one, put it that way. This should be our final live stream about Harvey Elliott.
Famous last words, mate. I'll see you next week for the same thing again. Just in the comments very quickly, and this is not Harvey Elliott related at all. Seems to be people chatting amongst themselves about Morgan Rogers and Tottenham. He's going to go to the Championship.
Well, early this season, some people did say he was a Championship player, didn't they?
That is true, after the first 5. Yeah.
Just a purple patch, mate.
Would he ever go to Tottenham?
No,
this current Tottenham. I don't think they'll go down, but do you know what I mean? They're not going to be in Europe. Morgan Rogers doesn't go to Tottenham. They don't pay for him either.
No, it's not worth. It's not worth talking about now. Matty Cash is fit. That's good news. Positive, yeah. He's training the last 2 sessions, and you'd like to think would start the game against Leeds. Alisson is still injured. Obviously, Harvey Elliott, he's injured for the next around 2 weeks, but it doesn't really matter anyway. And McGinn obviously still sidelined. You're probably looking around the first leg of that European game. I think would probably be the target for him. Not sure he'll come back before that. Well, that was always sort of aspirational target. But let's see. I guess every day is important for that. But then, obviously, Tielemans and Kamara we know about as well. So,
if this is the line that you posted at 2:00 or whatever, this big Harvey Elliott news, is there any embargo line? Is there anything juicy you've got up your sleeve for later?
I hate when you do this because I don't know, I need to check myself now. Let me try my email. No, nothing that will break the internet, I don't think. No. No, nothing that we'll be jumping back on for, put it that way.
Okay, all right. Nothing worthwhile then. That's a shame.
Well, not... Yeah.
Worth reading about, and not worth podcasting about at 10:00 at night. Right, I'm going to wrap up there. Just a quick 15-minute. Let's jump on and talk about this piece of news. People can get involved in the comments as always with what they think. I'm not hugely convinced this changes much, to be honest. We're talking about 7 more games in Europe. That means we're going to get to the final, by the way. We could lose in the round of 16.
Yeah, I don't want to.
I
don't want it to come across as like is that it? But it was more there isn't much else to it. If people are expecting us to, or anyone to reveal how many games exactly he's going to play, and when he's going to get a bed at night and stuff, we don't know that. But it's just he can finish in the Europa League, which I think is still big news, by the way. Because it's certainly something that, again, we'd rather have. That is, in my mind, a boost for Villa's chances of winning silverware this season. Stretching, maybe.
Right, thanks everyone for hopping along live. Appreciate you tuning in and popping in with a couple of questions. If, like I say, if anyone is catching up, you can get involved in comment sections as well. I will be back with Matt Kendrick tomorrow, probably 6:30, something like that, for the post-match show, where hopefully we're talking about a big 3 points for Villa. John, thanks for joining me. Thank you for watching or listening, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.